Next up, we've got a match here for the United States title. Tully Blanchard is going to defend against Magnum TA. This is probably the most famous match on the card. It's the I Quit steel cage match. Quite a build up here for this one. Really a spectacular match. And the rules of the match here are rather unique. There are no rules. There are no pinfalls. There are no countouts. There are no disqualifications. The first man to take the microphone and declare that he surrenders would lose. And the finish sees Baby Doll throw a wooden chair into the cage, and Tully would shatter it in the ring and take a broken piece of it and try to stab Magnum in the head. Magnum blocks it and doesn't get Tully off of him completely. And then Magnum knees Tully off of him and then jabs the sharp edged piece into the chair into his forehead. And Magnum screams at Tully over and over, asking him, "Do you quit?" Eventually, Tully has no choice but to scream yes several times, and Magnum wins the match and the U.S. title. Did you get a chance to see this match? It's a match people are still talking about today.
More than once. If you want to tell someone who asked, how did you get over back in the day? You know, what was different and how'd you get over? Well, two guys got over during that match. And granted, the guidelines were different. What you could do was different. Could never get away with anything that gruesome today and haven't been able to for 20 years. Tully and Magnum beat the ever-loving piss out of each other, and it wasn't pretty. There wasn't really a method to the madness. It was Tully who was a little bit overmatched because Magnum was a big kid back then and on his way to being a huge superstar at that time. If he wasn't already, he was right on the cusp. He was one match away, and this was the match that sealed it for him. One thing people have to know as an audience member about baby faces, and we get away from this all the time, they don't quit. They don't tap out. They stay in the fight until there's a pretty good reason that they can't be in the fight anymore. The main thing is people have to believe in baby faces. They have to have faith that you may get knocked out, you may get crippled, you may get hurt. The match may have to end for one of those reasons, but it's not because you say, I give up. Heels, different story. Gets too hot in the kitchen. Yeah, I'll give up today to live and fight another day. That's the reason audience members don't like heels, because they become gutless when it's a level playing field and they're not doing too well. They like baby faces because no matter how unlevel the field gets, they know that guy's not going to quit. They can stay there and just be in their corner to the bitter end, and because they believe in them. And that's the way that match was built, and that's the way it went down. And it was one of those things, because I knew nothing that was going on except to sit there and watch it. It was, as a fan, I was a huge, probably the biggest fan of that match in that arena that night. And because I knew what was going on from a performer standpoint, and it was one hell of a match. And one thing just recently that I saw, and I think it fell under, which was ironic and really cool, I think it fell under a WWF heading. I think they put the list together of top Starrcade matches of all time. And number one, guess what it was?
This one.
Yes. And you would think they would have encroached on that and put one of their matches in there just because of self-promotion. They gave this one its due, and it was. It probably was the best Starrcade match of all time. Storytelling, physicality, what were going to be the repercussions of the aftermath of it, just all that drama was awesome. And I was glad to hear that it got voted number one.
We did an entire panel about this at StarCast 2 in Las Vegas, where we had you know, Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard break down the brutality of this match. And it was one of the most talked about panels that weekend. And it's still the highlight of this entire show. If you're going to watch one match from this show this week, you should definitely go out of your way to watch that one. Even if you've seen it before, or you just haven't seen it in a long time, go out of your way to see that one.